Welcome back, everybody. This is my daily challenge video. It is an inspiring challenge to do a video every day in December, and I like the fact that, excuse me, it has pushed me to kind of think a little differently about making videos. There's gonna be more desk videos and vlogs versus flights because the footage and stuff that I have, I tend to put out on the same days, and I can't get out and fly really during the week, especially with the weather kind of turning and being crappy. But it's helping me kind of dive deeper into some of the things that go on here, things I should talk about that I always seem to overlook or forget. And some of the small stuff like what heat shrink tube do you use? Where's my tools? I don't even know where my tools are. What tools do you use? Just all these things. And today I'm kind of focusing on one quad and how versatile and why I call it two-face. I don't know why this battery is here. That was a dumbass. This is the Beta 95X V2 pusher. This is when they switched over and made it. This was one of the first kind of bigger pushers, and it was started because people were taking the Beta 85X, I believe it was, and converting it, and they started selling kits, and then Beta made this one. It is running 4S. I use the China line hobby batteries. It's a 650 milliamp. Perfect weight, perfect size. I like a little bit heavier of a quad. I think they fly a little bit better. And it fits good on here. Let me grab one. Let's see here. If I'm doing this the right way, that is not a battery. That is 3S, 4S. All right. Oh, I just walked into the desk. So we have our 4S, and one of the really important things that I learned early on is battery straps 90% of the time suck. Not because of the brand, not because of who makes them and stuff like that, because that was bad timing when I flipped it up. This strap actually is good and has not broken. I dig that. It won't stay. This strap. I learned early on when starting to fly that if you catch something on a tree, and I crashed a lot starting off, that the battery strap usually breaks and the battery goes flying, and if it disconnects, you can't find it if it's far away. Thankfully, I just stayed in the yard when I first started off because I took baby steps. You don't walk up to a pool never learning to swim and just jump in and assume you're going to swim. So I took those baby steps, especially with acro. Just stayed, especially with the small guys, in the front yard and kind of just did figure eights around the tree that was there and the telephone pole and taught myself how to fly. But when I got braver and was going up the street and across through the neighbor's yard that I'm allowed to, I'd fly there, and I caught the power lines a couple times. I hit the go to the house. I clipped a couple tree branches, and when I was flying one of the first 5-inch around, I ended up clipping a branch, and it caught the strap, and it broke the connector on the battery, ripped the strap off. It took me like 20 minutes to find the battery, and it just so happened that it dove into the bushes underneath the tree, and I couldn't find it. And it didn't stand out. The LEDs didn't do any good because there weren't any on there. And even if there was, the battery wasn't on there. So it wouldn't beep and it wouldn't LED. So I learned early on. So I use this, I believe it's 3M. Some people call it Sherlock, like Velcro. It's just hardcore. There's no, side A and B. You just kind of take it. If you heard that little punch, it's just a quick little rip and it comes right off. But once you punch it in there, it ain't going anywhere. This quad is not a good example of, this thing doesn't weigh enough or fly it hardcore fast enough, even though it is quite the ripper, which I'll get into. It's not going to necessarily rip this off, and with the camera in front, it's protected. But I like the fact that once you click it in there, she ain't wiggling around. If you do a hard maneuver, this is not going to fall off. So that is like a major thing that I do to 90% of the quads. I think one Cinewhoop doesn't have it, and one of my freestyles doesn't because it's got this, it's got this grippy, rubbery stuff on it, and it's double strapped, and it's never come off, thank God. Mods, well, first off, I call it two-face, hence the two-color props. And this was like a right off the bat thing after flying it that I came up with the name. And sometimes I have the name ahead of time, and it's like kind of owning a pet. You kind of don't want to name it until you see the personality, and that's where this shined. It is a really kick-ass freestyle quad. It's small in size. It's my big ass hand. It's not humongous, but you forget its size when you fly it because it's got lots of power. The edit's not up, that my most recent one. I've got like 8 or 9 edits still sitting in the queue waiting to be uploaded. Every time I go out and we fly somewhere, I'll only release one of them, and then it kind of cycles, so you don't see the same spot often, and from different quads and stuff. But I flew at JFK, the school that they redid the back to. Well, they redid the whole school, but they redid the whole field behind with different baseball fields and stuff like that. And I took this guy out after replacing the antenna, and I was just dumbfounded. I forgot. It just, the power was there. It just flipped and rolled. It had enough momentum to carry into kind of like a twist and stay upside down. It was crazy. I was just unbelievably pleased. It's got a great flight time. If I'm not hardcore beating on it, it's easily 5 minutes, which is totally fine with me. I sort of made it modular, kind of pieced together. It's like a mini GoPro base. And then it's got this for the Insta, and then I can clip on to here the, which was originally on it the entire time, the SMO. I think the SMO is mainly going to stay on one of my 5-inch quads. This is like my second or third flight that I've done with Enigma. Let's see if I can stick my finger in there. And it just flies. Amazing with it on it. I'm liking the footage. But again, I can slap it even onto a Cinewhoop because I've made a modular mount on one of the Cinewhoops, so that camera can be bounced around. It's kind of like the horror of cameras. But I swapped out the camera and did a baby Ratel, which made the world of difference. That is my favorite FPV camera that is out, other than the Foxeer Toothless in the same size. They are easily comparable. What antenna? I think it's an iFlight. Yeah, the iFlight SEMA, right hand, circular polarized. Fantastic. I was having a lot of problems with this, with reception, and it kept bogging out, and it'd be crappy in one spot and fantastic in another. But as soon as I got any real distance, it just shit out. And it come to find out that, and I did a video on this before, the antenna, the way that they had set this up, the antenna kind of came off the side and did a hard 90-degree down, and then it kind of wrapped around, and then their factory, like the asshole of the fucking quad, came out right there. And I didn't like the original shorty, so I went with a Foxeer. I think I ended up breaking two because I know I hit a branch hard enough, so when you shook this, it sounded like a Christmas ornament, a broken Christmas ornament. And then the second one that I had on there, just fighting it. So one day I finally took it off, just put a whip antenna and flew it around the yard, and it was night and day. So I ended up, if you can see that, I ended up shaving the carbon fiber down instead of coming out the side straight back. So there is absolutely no pressure on it. And then I do my little heat shrink with the zip tie. And that's a cool thing. If you've never done this mod or seen this, so you take your zip tie, obviously where you want to put it, and before you clamp it on, you kind of run the heat shrink together. And then what you do is you heat it up enough to where it's pliable and hold it for a few seconds in the form that you want, and it stays put. It's got its rigidity. And then if you don't like it, you can always heat it up again and keep it wherever you want. Works great. I think they originally had the receiver. I can't remember. I think it came with the receiver. I don't remember. It's been a while. But it was tucked and buried underneath, and then the wire was running along the carbon fiber. I just felt like it had too much interference, and there was an easy way to fail safe. So yeah, you see it. You can see some of the wires, and I very shitty couldn't see it before. Really, I just glued over the wires. And I'd like to do that on places where they come off of something to stop them from getting ripped. You never know. God-awful crashes. It's amazing what you can break and what gets caught and stuff like that. So it's glued down, and usually you don't see it because I usually don't show it. And when you click it into the Velcro, it sits just above. So it has airflow. It's not hitting on it, no pressure. I left, oh, my fucking hand just unfocused. This is the plug for the SMO. So if I decide to throw that thing back on here, and it's usually tucked down behind there, so I can make it modular and do my thing. So these are the isolators for the camera, and they make the world of difference. They take out a lot of vibration. If you've ever seen any review on the Insta360 Go 2, they are notorious for vibration. If you have a quad that is insanely untuned or has got a bent prop, you're gonna see it in the footage. And if I've experimented, I put this on Splat, which is basically a reborn Mantis 85, and it's just inherent with the size of the frame and any minute issue with a prop. It just, the vibration is there. And I put the hard mount, which I'm hoping is right here. Yes. So the original hat mount, which doesn't have any kind of dampening or anything like that. I had mounted it on there. You can see the holes there. It worked good. It wasn't the end of the world, but that quad is just, it's kind of, the battery's bigger. Again, I say heavy battery. It's a small ass quad, so the 650 milliamp on that 2S is a larger battery. And then you add this thing on there. It fights, it gets a okay, I'd probably lose a minute and a half of flight time, but it's crazy where this thing could go. And I have an edit coming up at, I forgot what the hell I named it. It was at the Powder Hollow Ball Fields. And I didn't put in the edit what quad it was. You know, you get a kick out of it because it flew good and smooth on a nice day, but it definitely struggled a bit because of the weight. But again, vibration, that is proof. So with the dampening, back to my point without losing my thought with ADHD here, it helps dampen. I had this strapped on the outside of my backpack, and when we go adventuring, we go through some rugged shit. And with this guy in the back, it must have caught the camera, ripped off. And we stopped at one spot. It was like a half-buried truck at one of the Powder Hollow areas we were looking at. And Brian points out this very oddly blue thing. And it stood out because of the fall foliage. It's not a natural color. So I picked it up just going, that's cool. I'll save it just in case. Maybe I can use it. And then when I put my bag down and I realized that this thing was completely hanging off, I was pissed. And it's not easy to get those back on without a whole bunch of tools and stuff like that. So what I did, very simply, is just ran a zip tie through with just a tiny amount of tension. So it's not super tight. It pulls down on them just a little bit, so it keeps the front end a little bit higher. And obviously you could adjust it, and it still keeps it completely dampened. It's not messing with any of the dampening at all. And I'm very pleased. I did do a video. I don't see if I have something here I can prop my phone against. I wanted to show you real quick. If you just tuning in or never saw this quad, let me tilt it down just a little bit. Cool. So I added, as you know, I always add LEDs to the quad for the crazy cool look and to help find it. And for a spotter, because we always go out with a spotter, hey, look, you can actually see both hands. Magic. It's so much easier to find this thing, especially if it's hanging in a tree, which it has quite a few times. So I have two different color LEDs run all the way around it, and I actually took some Halloween black nail polish from the wife and went all the way around and covered up the entire board and electronics except for the LEDs to try to just make it a little more stealthy. And then I blacked out the couple that were right here, so that way it doesn't black out the camera. So let me just click the light real quick. It's a little bit dimmer. That's better. Plug this in. It's got to have enough juice in it. Check that out. It does no justice. They're stupid bright. And when we're flying at line of sight in the yard, just kind of showing off and showing people flying and stuff like that, the phone's actually doing a good job of not blowing it out because they're so stupid bright. But yeah, it's freaking bright as hell, and it looks fun at night. It lights up the ground, so when you're flying around and you're close to the ground, the whole ground is all lit up, and you can kind of see it there on there. All right. So that is kind of the bio breakdown of the Beta 95X V2. I know they came out with a V3, and everybody, Hugan, one of my West Coast FPV guys, I know had the V3, and that's why I think when we started talking, he was talking about tuning, and I was sharing how mine was kind of set up, and he just didn't have the power. I don't know what they changed in that thing. That I haven't heard anybody say, Chris, get that one instead of this one. The frame's kind of cool. I did dig the frame a little bit better, but just everyone's experience with it flying and not being that great. So I'll stay away from that one. But I gotta see what's going on upstairs. People are up there. I'm not, as usual. I'm down in the dungeon playing, making videos, editing, whatnot, which I got to do some more of. So thank you guys for the time. My daily challenge video is done. Stacey Abshire. Go check them out. It's a video every day in December. Shout to New England FPV, West Coast FPV, East Coast FPV, all my people out there. Holidays are coming quick. Share in the spirit, help one another out, inspire creativity. Peace out.